Welcome everybody to the Spark Up Podcast. This is episode 178. Christina Sev as your host, Ghetto Superstar Sev on the mic. This podcast ain't for everybody, but it's for somebody out there. I hope it's that somebody is you. Today I am joined by a man whose name and face I knew before we formally met. This man has dedicated his entire career to community-based work, especially with youth and nonviolence initiatives. He recently spoke at a really big event called the New England Street Worker Conference, providing space and time for reflection, sharing best strategies, professional development, and building a network of peers across the nonviolence work. This man is doing the hard work and really, truly God's work. And I'm here with Juan Carter. Thank you for coming. Today we'll be talking all about your work. But before we get into that, we're going to get into probably the hardest icebreaker I chose for myself. But we're going to get through it. We're going to play two truths and a lie. Each person shares two truths, one lie, all based on whatever they want. Some people make up obscene things. I don't have too many things to make up. So you want to go first or should I go first?
Sure. I mean, I think I had a crazy childhood, a pretty exciting childhood. Teenage years were some good times.
Yes, the golden
rough
era.
Times. Yeah, 90s, 80s, 90s. I believe I came up in the greatest era of hip hop.
Yeah, for sure.
Two truths and a lie. Okay. So I was part of, some people would say gang, but we didn't call it a gang, but a pretty infamous in a good way street crew.
Okay.
I unfortunately had to serve some time in a juvenile correctional facility here in Rhode Island. And I started drinking very early, age of 14.
Is this you telling your two truths right now?
Yeah, that was three of them. You gotta figure out which one was.
Oh, okay. So went to jail, started drinking early. What was the other one?
Infamous, but in a good way, street crew called SFM. You don't want to know that.
Super relatable.
You don't want the acronyms, unless you want it.
I don't know why sexy came first. Sexy.
I like it. It wasn't that, but I like it. I like it.
Oof.
We thought we were.
South Side. That one's the truth. The crew one is the truth. And going to jail. The lie is the drinking early.
No, I've never been in a juvie.
So the lie is
the juvie.
Okay. Oof. All right. What does SFM stand for? We have to know now.
7 fine. Can you curse on this podcast?
Yeah.
Motherfuckers. Just think, this is the 90s in high school.
What were y'all doing to establish yourself?
No, it was actually funny story. We go to my boy's crib and I get there and the 6 were there. The 6 were already there, and I'm 7. But
were you 7th? Like according to rating, is that?
No. I just happened to show up. I don't know the name. We didn't have it, but before I get there, I don't know any of this is happening. I walk in the crib, and they're like, "Yo, what SFM?" And I'm like, "Okay, what is that? What does that mean?" 7 fine motherfuckers, and I was just like, "I'll rock with it."
Where do you think you ranked in the 7?
1.
Good answer. Good answer. We're gonna get into all the things. Juan Carter is. I thought that was I didn't know that was your real last name. I thought it was just because you were like trying to copy Jay-Z.
There's a story. I got a story for everything.
So
that is my name.
Oh, okay.
That is my name. My aunt actually. So in high school, Jay-Z kind of like became popular in '96. I was in high school, and I was in class. We was in class, and my man Ariel, he had a heavy Dominican accent, and he just yelled it out.
You want to imitate it or?
No,
Okay.
I don't want to violate him like that. But and he just yelled it out. He said, "Yo, Bub, you look like Jay-Z." And I was like, "Huh?" And then it just stuck. And he's my favorite rapper.
Yeah.
And then it just stuck. And then I was in the photography. I was in the art program. So photography. So in my lifetime, volume 1, he's on the, you got the leather jacket on. I did a picture just like that.
Really?
Leather jacket, Caesar cut, just, and I did
wow.
that. And then, so my aunt actually tried, because then all of a sudden people just like, yeah, you do look like him. My aunt actually tried to do some research to see if he was family. Not even close.
That's hilarious.
Not even.
I don't think you look like Jay-Z, but I could see maybe because you're tall.
Yeah, I don't look like
light-skinned black man.
You put.
That's it, I think.
They think I look like every light-skinned black man.
Yeah, that's true. But yes, let's get into all things you. So first of all, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm great. It's an exciting next 6 days for me. I'm getting married Friday.
You're getting, I thought you were married already. You're getting tying the knot.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
Hanging
Congratulations. Yeah.
Hanging
it's
it up.
good. It's about time, I feel like.
Raptors, yeah. It's definitely time.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of maybe women, but maybe guys too that are dating want to know, what is it? What's the thing that prompts you to ask?
Like, I don't believe in love at first sight. I know some people do, but it was just when you're happy, like you feel like people were seeing me and was like, "Yo, you look happy." I said, "Well, what did I look like before? Did I not look
You
happy?"
look like an SM.
You look like one of them. And no, it's just when you find somebody that you can completely be open with, vulnerable with, but also be happy with, and also have fun with, like together, just alone, us two having fun in the house, laughing, like dancing, friends.
Yeah.
Friends.
I think that's really the key right there, is having that foundation as friendship.
And then having somebody that don't play about you.
Ooh. Yeah, that's big.
Like me and my boys, we crack jokes all the time. And like, if she don't like a joke and it's towards me, she's on the back pocket. Yeah. I'm like,
I love that.
Hey, chill. It was a joke. Right? She don't play. Yeah.
Are you going to have a big wedding, small wedding?
We got 167 right now. Jeez. Well, that's the final number. They better show up.
No, really, because I know you did cutoffs too.
You know how many people I've ran into? It's like, yo, that's messed up, man. I didn't get the invite. They said you was on the original list.
Yeah.
But we got the pecking order, right?
That's probably worse than not being invited.
I didn't say that to him.
Oh, okay. I'm like, dang.
If they watch this podcast, they don't know who they are, but I ain't gonna say no names. But it was I just did a brain dump, just threw names out there, like, yeah, I would like, and then we kind of try to create a criteria of like, who do you talk to the most, right?
That's smart.
Are you? And then we had to do the same thing with plus ones, because everybody's like, yo, I get a plus one. Be happy you got invited.
No, for real.
But if you was married, like if you're married, I can't tell
right.
you not to bring your partner. Like,
right, but not your boo. We don't even know if y'all will be together next week.
I had that. And, guys that I know is like, yo, I'm going to bring, who you bringing? And I don't know this person. Right. Neither does my fiance.
No. But weddings are fun. And I think people, when they expect to go to a wedding, they expect like open bar, mad food, good food. Definitely. Like they're going for a good time.
We, we went down the options, and open bar was an option until it wasn't, until we saw the price.
Yeah, it's pricey.
And then and I know people that what they drink, but they don't drink it on that day because it's free. Right? Oh, all of a sudden you drink top shelf, huh? You don't come out your pocket for top shelf.
Yeah, weddings are hectic. I feel like a lot of planning. Oh,
I just want this week to be over, the day to happen, have fun.
When did you say it is again?
Friday, coming up.
Friday. Oh, damn, that's right there. Yeah. So by the time this comes out, you'll be a married man.
Yes.
That's good. How old are you?
44.
44? You look young.
Thank you.
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, my son's 24. He got married in June.
I was trying to do the math. I'm like, his kids look a little, how old is this man? He's like Benjamin Button. He's aging backwards. It's crazy. I want to share a little bit of how I heard of you. Mm-hmm. My daughter's father was part of the Nonviolence Institute, actually the year that you started. You started in 2009, right? Mm-hmm. And then I started hearing your name. Your name started ringing. Actually, my sister's high school best friend, Draper, used to work at the Nonviolence Institute for years. And I've just always remember seeing your face. And like, of course, there was that time, it was a very tense time in the city. I feel like from 2009 to like 11, 12. And in the news, of course, you see the street workers. So I've always seen you, and I've heard about the great work that the Nonviolence Institute does, but I never really understood the real work. And I can only imagine how weighty that work is. But you did it for 12 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time. And you're originally from Providence, right? But I want to know, how would you describe yourself, or how would other people describe you as a young man? Like, was there something that led you to that type of work? Because I feel like when people do nonviolence work, it's either because they were affected by it personally or they were in some trouble themselves.
Funny that you asked that. My grandmother, we was all down in Florida. It was the first time my family on my mom's side has been together in years. And we was talking about, there was just, all family got some trouble and stuff like that. And there was the situation, and I told my aunt, I said, I'm staying out of it. Nobody don't want to listen to me. She's like, what? Like, you've been always a very diplomatic person. I'm like, you're like the umpteenth person that has said that to me, and I've never noticed that about myself. And she said, since a kid, you was always, always in the mix of things and trying to calm things down, or sometimes stirring things up, or, but you was always in the middle of something, either trying to help somebody. And I was just like, wow. So maybe that's, was in me that I didn't know was in me. I wasn't this, in my own little circles, I was outgoing, but like publicly wasn't the most. I was like the quiet dude. Like, so even in the crew SFM, I was in the background. Like, the other guys were more vocal and more boisterous than I was. But, it wasn't until I got into the work. And my best friend, he was one of the first street workers when the program started. And I just watched his transformation from ice cold, like cold turkey, leaving the streets and going into this work. And then I just saw what it did for his life. And, I had other jobs and stuff like that, but I wanted to find something that gave me purpose. And, I worked at the bank. I worked for Blue Cross Blue Shield. And those are just I felt like those are jobs that you can be replaced. Somebody else can push the keys on a keyboard. And so I was like, no, I want to do that. And he was just like, no, you don't want to do this work. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I want to do it. He's like, no, you don't want to do it. So I kept applying, and he kept not getting the interview. So I was like, and I would ride by their office, like sometimes, not stalkish, but just let me ride by and see new guys get hired. I'm like, you hired him?
And not me?
Not me.
Right.
So, but I started out in the community as a basketball coach. I was coaching at the Southside Boys and Girls Club. And, I just seen this transformation, at least when I became aware of it, this transformation of the guys I was coaching were now the guys that were in the streets shooting at each other. And I was just like, all right, then I need to be, because I thought basketball was my give back to the community. In 2007, unfortunately, Darren Regan's D was stabbed and killed. And I was one of the people to get the phone call from a young person on the scene. So I knew the street workers responded to the hospital. So I called my boy, and I was just like, yo, Darren D got stabbed. And he was like, he didn't even know yet. So he calls me back, and he's like, yeah, he's at the hospital. And just to see the aftermath once, the doctor came out and let everybody know he had passed. And I was just like, nah, this is what I need to be doing. But that was in 2007. I still didn't get hired till 2009. They had the Nonviolence Institute probably had its largest hiring. Not probably, it was its largest hiring ever. 10 street workers, 5 full-time, 5 part-time. So I applied. I was like, I'm gonna apply this time. I got to get 1 out of 10. I got to get in there. 1 out of 10, my odds is good. I was working at the bank at the time. And I got hired. Funny story. So I left. So we was told that the street workers at the time couldn't have 2 jobs because this job was so demanding that you needed to be available, on call. So I quit 2 full-time jobs basically immediately. Like the bank, I really didn't want to be there. 2-week notice, here you go. Then the group home, I was like, the house manager, she's like an aunt, like a mother figure to most of my boys. And I told her I have to let this job go. And she was like, no, we're going to try to figure out a way to keep you. I don't care what they say. So, but to go find out, my brother gave me the part-time position. Yeah.
Damn, he cheaped you out.
Yeah. He's still my brother because he's in my wedding, right? So, but yeah, so in 2009, I got hired, and it started from there. I lost best friends to gun violence, but that moment there, the unfortunate death of D was the moment that kind of just clicked to me that I need to be doing some more work in the community.
You do a lot of youth work though, right? Mm-hmm. You're a coach. You're still coaching, right? What high school do you coach at?
Well, just starting now. It's be our first year at Mount St. Charles in Woonsocket. So yeah, I coach AAU basketball for Team New England.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you also have kids. Yeah. So you're like the kids over here, kids over there.
Yeah.
How are you able to, or what's it like splitting your time with your family and with your work? Because you're kind of dealing with families on all fronts. Mm-hmm. There's your family and then the family that you work with. It
wasn't easy when my children were smaller. That was probably the more difficult time. And it was like I missed out on some things because, doing the work. But it was a struggle because, I'm coming home sometimes just laying on the couch, not even going upstairs to say hi to the kids. My daughter's different. She don't care if you're tired. She don't care if you're half dead. She would jump on me on the couch. Like, no, you've been out all day. It's me time. I don't care how tired you are. My son, on the other hand, he would be upstairs in his room and he's like, I'm good. I know you're home. Mm-hmm. Hi, Dad. And he'll go about his business. So he's more of a person that you have to engage at the time. But it was difficult to try to manage being a parent, being a father, and then also, so the struggle for me was the balance to make sure that they have daddy time and versus me trying to give a lot. But it took some time for me to build a healthy boundary professionally with community, and I struggled with it for a bit, but I'm better with it now.
Okay. Yeah, I can. I think any time you're involved in the community, it feels like an obligation more so than like I'm going to the bank, clocking in and doing this. It's like this means something. Right. Yeah. So, what do you remember from your early days in the nonviolence work?
Man, so funny story is like when I was telling like new staff that would come on to the team, like I wasn't a believer in nonviolence. Like I didn't care for the philosophy. I just wanted to do the work, and I knew taking the nonviolence training was a prerequisite to doing the job. And so a lot of like old habits came into the work in terms of like I don't do well with disrespect, especially from young people, right? And that's just how I grew up. Like adults in my era didn't do well with disrespect, and so I would be confrontational in certain spaces, but understanding that if I'm trying to, those little moments are showing the young people that, oh, you're violent too. You say you're a nonviolent guy, but you're nonviolent. You're showing us that you can be violent. So in the earlier days, it was because, to your point, right, 2009 to probably like 2012 was hectic, right? Like some of the violence was starting to pick up in maybe 2013. So one, you come into the work with your own trauma that you don't know that now is exposed and it comes up and you don't deal with that, right? So that comes with a level of frustration. You're frustrated about the work because you feel like community is not caring. I used to tell people and be in community meetings like, I'm chasing your kid. My kids are at home. I could be with them right now. So that level of frustration, and then just the frustration with the violence, right? Like you got a young man right here who wants to change, but he's just facing all of society's ills, and the resources are lacking. So like all of that just like balled up. Like there were days where I'm like, yo, I'm quitting. Right? Like I've had those ups and downs of the work is the work, and it's we're helping to save lives. And then there's those days and even months like, you know what, I'm ready to find another career path. But then you start to learn more. So I was exposed to the national scene pretty early to see that, oh, there's actually other people doing this work. And they're also having the same struggles. And this is not just, some people perceived it as a volunteer job. Like, this is a volunteer job, right? Or to your point, right? Like what you stated earlier, we'd have a lot of people say you're doing God's work, but I'm like, my bank account ain't saying that. Right? So
that's the thing about God's work, though. It's not always
right.
the work that pays.
And so, yeah, so all of that. But once I got the exposure to the national scene, to see that, Chicago has this, obviously New England has it, but they're doing it in Philly, they're doing it in LA, and
New York is big on
New York, and then having those conversations with national folks that we all have something in common, that we're striving not only for our local communities, but for the national community, for people to respect the work.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a woman, and I forget her name, but every time she's on the Breakfast Club, I love what she has to say, but she's basically working like around the clock. She has a bus too where she brings the kids on and they get to like pick out new clothes if they need it. She takes them to get haircuts and all this stuff. So I'm wondering, right, because the little bit of times that I've had with kids, I fall in love with them quickly. Like I want to save them all. I want to take them home. I want to tell them to do the right things. And you can't do that, obviously, because first of all, it's unprofessional and you could lack boundaries with that. But how are you able to separate? Because I know that when you're a street worker, you meet the parents, the cousins, the crew. Like you get to meet everybody that's involved, and there has to be some kind of emotional attachment, for lack of a better word.
Oh, I've had some of my street workers on the team, like the guys ask them to be godparents, right? Like, because it is that intimate, like in terms of like the everyday part of every part of, like you said, the family. The mom's depending on you. Like, no, I need you to help my son because I got 4 other kids that I have to give my attention to. Getting invited to dinner. I've always said if you're good at your job, a good street worker, you get invited to dinner. Right, because that you've established that relationship.
They feel comfortable.
And so actually you learn over time. And again, this is so the work is similar to, it's funny because I did a panel discussion at the University of Chicago School of Social Work, and there's some similarities in the work. But this is not, street outreach or violence intervention work is now trying to become professionalized. And so those things in the earlier days weren't taught in terms of boundaries, right? Like being able to, and then, learning on the job and learning on the fly. I just was telling, my team that you're not here. The unfortunate reality is that you're not here to be their friends, right? You're here to be somebody that's, one, accountable, but hold them accountable to the things that they're doing. And I think if you blur the line, that's when things get iffy. Because I was like, if we think about a lot of the individuals that do this work, formerly incarcerated folks and also former gang members themselves. And if you think about, I tell people, if you think about the gangs you were in, nobody was being held accountable, not for anything positive, right? If you did stuff, if you didn't go on a mission, you was getting held accountable, or right, if you were supposed to do something, maybe the OG would check you, but it's never for doing the right thing. And if we go into the work trying to build friendships instead of healthy relationships that are holding folks accountable, you struggle to change them because now you're starting to enable some of the things that they do. Carrying guns is part of what they do. I'm not saying take the gun from them, but you got to start to put something positive into their mindset to say, hey, we got to figure out a way that you're not carrying a gun wherever you go. And obviously the other part of the work is to make sure that, you're talking to his opposition or his or her opposition because they're carrying the gun because the other side is looking for them. So, but if we continue to say, hey, it's cool to carry a gun, then they're always going to carry a gun. And then you don't know what's going to happen that night where you go lay your head down on a pillow and you get a phone call that somebody was shot. It was because of the person that you was with.
That's crazy. It's intense work. But you talked about earlier, you mentioned that you didn't go into it believing in the philosophy of nonviolence. What's your belief in it now? Because I know being in the work, it's like nonstop work. It's like the work feels like it'll never be complete. So what's your thoughts around that theory of a nonviolent city?
I wholeheartedly believe in it. I consider myself a nonviolence practitioner. What happened, I started training nonviolence. I did my first training in Brooklyn, New York. And
like training other street
workers in nonviolence. And I didn't know it. Right? Like I knew the material. Like I can read it verbatim, but like if you ask me a question about it, because I never internalized it, I can't give you a response. Now I'm looking at the paper roll. The paper says, but they're asking like real life situations. How did you apply it? Well, the paper says that. Right? So it's just. So I was like, that made me uncomfortable. One, I worked at the time, it was called the Institute for the Study and Practice of Nonviolence. It's now the Nonviolence Institute. But they see that logo, they see that name, and their understanding is that you are that. But I show up in a space now, they could read it. They could read me like, you don't know what he's talking about, right? So I didn't like that. Nobody said that to me, but that feeling of, it didn't feel genuine. And so I was like, I need to learn this. I need to read up on it and I need to apply it to my life. Because that way now I can now give them a response. And this is how I use it in this situation. And this is how I use nonviolence. But it's more of a, we always say nonviolence is a way of life. It should be something that's second nature to you. And so I believe in it now. Even when I go into certain spaces, I don't need to say the stuff verbatim, but it just shows in how I interact with people. It shows how I interact in situations that can be volatile to the point where, family, friends, here comes the nonviolence guy, Mr. Martin Luther King, here he is, right? So like, they clown and joke, but again, I'm truly a believer in it. It's helped me personally in the way, like I said, when I first started the job, being confrontational at certain times. And now I have something to go back to, right? The nonviolence sometimes just kicks in immediately. And it's like my man Sal Montero, he said, something about you. You're like the calmest person in the room at all times. And I said, it took me a while to get to that space. I wasn't always inside. I'd be boiling. Like I want to break something. But he would always say, if there was a fire, Juan would be, so we have exits over here. We have an exit over here while everybody else is like yelling.
In panic.
Right. I'm like, no, relax. It's going to be okay. If you just walk right out that door, you take a left. Right.
It's good though, because it makes you rational.
Right.
I think a lot of people in tragedy, they become irrational, right? That's where violence comes from, is from your logic is like outside somewhere else, not where it needs to be in your brain, and also practicing it. Because sometimes we have logical thoughts, but we're not doing logical things. Like your thoughts have to match your action. But I've always looked at street workers as like guidance counselors, though, in the way they need to show up, right? In schools now, they call them community specialists. Yeah. People that show up and can relate to the kids in a different way that a police officer can't. Have you ever felt like the work is dangerous? Like, did you ever feel like I can't be outside like this, getting caught with helping this guy out because the people that's looking for him, they're going to look at me as someone that's helping him, or they look at you like you're with the feds. Like, did you ever feel like your life was on the line?
It was like an afterthought, though. It wasn't like in the immediacy. Like, I'm driving dudes around in my car, the same car I put my kids in, taking them to court or taking them to the store. It took me to mature in the work to now, again, like I said, hold dudes accountable. Right? Like, I've had guys in my car with guns on them.
That's crazy.
And like, one kid was moving around. He was like, and I was like, oh, pull this car. Oh, you got a gun on you? Yeah, but you know how it. Get out of my car. But it took me years to get to that space, because before, when I first started, all right, I know why you got it on you. Again, like I said, you have to get to a space where you have to hold them accountable, right? And that if I got tint on this car, tint you can get pulled over. Tint's illegal in Rhode Island. And if we get pulled over,
that gun is illegal.
And I'm gonna, officer, guess who's not going to jail today? Me. You do with that information what you need, right? And I would tell the guys, like, yo, I'm not going to jail.
Right.
I'm not going to jail. And they could take what they want, but it took me to get to a space where I felt mature enough. I felt that I was in this space of like, no, I'm putting me first. But there's times, again, like I said, putting them in my car, and then after go home, like, yo, I really just he just got shot at yesterday. I had him in my car. Or he just got shot at today. I went to go pick him up to bring him to somewhere safe. So yeah, I pulled up on a scene. I called young boys up and was like, yo, where you at? You were at the spot. And I pulled up. He failed to tell me he's in an argument with somebody. Again, I got a car, it's tinted out. I pull up. The dude's like probably
they're on guard now.
He's like, oh, who's this pulling up? And like drew his weapon on me. I got out the car, I had my ID around my neck. It's like, yo, no, I'm a street worker. He was like, Bob. I said, dap me up. I sat on the hood of the car. It was like, watched him, like, and then, the argument, nothing happened. He drove off. Bob, good to see you. Like, it was just like a casual, like, oh, Bob. Tap back in. And they went to arguing again. And I cussed the dude out. I was like, yo, man, like, you didn't tell me. Oh, no, he wasn't going to do nothing. Well, he would have did something to me if he didn't know it was me, right? And so, I think here in Rhode Island, we got a little bit different. Like, we don't have a true gang culture here, right? Like, but in those other cities, you do. And so certain guys, even though they're on the right side of peace, can't go to that neighborhood, Stu, because the other neighborhood still don't trust you. Oh, you're from there. You only work there. We can't trust your word. And so I believe in other cities, like dudes' lives, there's been outreach workers shot and killed. And so it can be dangerous. We don't get vests, we don't get guns, right? All we got is our word. So it is a dangerous job in certain cities.
But you did mention the cops, and I've always been so intrigued by the way cops, first of all, conduct themselves, right? We know what it's like in the hood when they pull up, you tell them people are fighting, they automatically are asking, where's the gun? And it's a lot of separation. It never feels, and that's a national issue. It doesn't feel like the cops are here to help us. But y'all kind of have to have a partnership with them in some kind of ways. What's your experience working with the cops?
So again, this is me being exposed to some of my brothers in LA, and I've done national trainings for street outreach workers. And I learned a term from them that kind of just changes the perspective of people. So like partnership, relationship can mean different things to different people, especially a community that doesn't trust law enforcement and anybody that sides with them. So that word partnership is always tricky because people took it as, well, the cops must either fund your program or you have a relationship with them where you have to share information, and that's far from the truth. So the term I learned was professional understanding, right? Like, we need to understand what you do, and you need to understand what we do,
right? And
let's not blur those lines,
right? So you know where to come into play.
I think because of the nonviolence philosophy, that I think it changes the dynamics here as from an organizational standpoint in terms of like building the beloved community, and everybody's a part of the community. And so I think it was a little different for us as an organization. Now you have this conversation with organizations in other cities. They're like, hell no, we ain't working with the cops. We don't work with the cops. We don't talk to the cops. We don't ask the cops for anything. And that's fine. That's, that's how they choose to conduct their business. But we just saw it different. And if we really want to have transformation in the community, then law enforcement is a part of that transformation. And I think we did a lot of work in Providence with the Providence Police Department to change how they view individuals who are involved in street level violence. Simple things, well, not so simple, but we thought it was things like going to the hospital and immediately when they're in the hospital and they go see a victim, they're drilling them with questions, right? It's like, this is yesterday, yes, or an hour before, yes, he's so-and-so from so-and-so crew. We know that. You know it, we know it, but he's a victim right now. He was shot, and he should be treated as a victim, not as a perpetrator. And then also understanding the dynamics. Who wants to be drilled with questions while they got a bullet, while they got bullets in them? I wouldn't want to be. And even when we used to walk in the room, because we had access to the trauma unit, we go back there and they don't want to talk to us either. And I understand why. Like, I didn't take it personal, but some cops and some officers at the time taking it personal. Oh no, we need to, I get it. You have a case to solve and you have a time frame in which you need to do it. But I think for us, and it wasn't the job of street workers. Like I didn't tell street workers, you have to build a relationship with a cop or you have to, change the mindset. It was from an organizational, from managers, right? And from our executive director to now have those conversations with the chief of police.
How do you deal with the community?
Right. And say, listen, we can help you. This can make your job easier. We can be the bridge builder. What if you come back tomorrow?
Right. Give it a day.
Right. And you started to see some of that change. Some officers now today that I see, like, they're like, yo, we was able to do some amazing things in the city. And it was because of the help of the Nonviolence Institute and trying to be the bridge builder between community and law enforcement. And so, again, we try to use the term professional understanding because, at my time there, we got dragged through the mud. Oh, you just work for the cops. And I'm like, then how are we still existing in the community if people really felt like we worked for the police? Right? I understood that you're in a problem, right? You got a beef that you don't know how to get out of, and you feel like the only way to get out of it is to use violence, and we're in the way of you wanting to inflict pain on somebody else because you're hurting. So I get it. We're like the parents. Nobody wants to. I want to fight somebody right now, ma. Like, leave me alone, right? And so us stepping in that relationship is false in terms of working with the police, but I think we was able to do some good work in the community.
Before we end, I have to talk to you about the legacy of Mr. Cedric. Of course, he passed away earlier this year, and he was the executive director of the Nonviolence Institute for 3 years, and he was widely respected for his commitment and for promoting nonviolence and promoting peace and unity through the city. Worked for Mount Pleasant for years. Actually, I didn't know this. I found this out, but he was recognized for his efforts in peace. And back in 2022, he was inducted into the Rhode Island Criminal Justice Hall of Fame, which is something that I learned is really dope. But when he passed away, there was an outpour of love and stories of how great he was and how selfless he was. And I came across your post, and at the end you said, an invaluable member of my family, a man of high character and honor, a distinguished gentleman. Can you share what it's like to lose such a prominent community leader in the city, especially when the work that he was doing was clearly impactful? How do you deal with that? And also, like, how can we as the community carry his legacy through?
I mean, a lot of where I'm at today is because of him. Like he was, I didn't even some like jobs that I got or in certain spaces I was in. They was like, Cedric told me about you, and I didn't even like. I find out after, right? And it was a big hit, right? Big loss. He was I want to say one of the few last of the Mohegans of the old school era of community leaders, right? We didn't always see eye to eye. A lot of young people didn't see eye to eye with him, but he saved endless lives. I mean, thousands, like you said, you've seen the outpour of support for him. But I think to carry his legacy, somebody came up to me and was like, well, you're next to fill his shoes. I'm like, them shoes are too big for me. But I think people stepping up, taking care of each other. He always shared the line, treat people with love and kindness. And I think to carry his legacy is just by doing that. I think if people cared about each other a little more, right? We all got stuff going on, right? At the end of the day, but we still can do that with some humility, right? We can do that with some love and some kindness. And I think if we all do that, I think we have a different community just by doing those things. I'm not expecting everybody to jump out into the community and start doing community service or start doing violence intervention work or volunteer, because I get it. People have other things to do. As if you are, feel like you are part of the community, I think just it's the ripple effect that the people around you, right? Whatever that circle is to you, is being a person, a positive figure in that circle, and then that will have a ripple effect. And I truly believe that, because you can change the people around you, and only the people around you, but with the hopes that those people go out and do the same thing for other people. And I think Spark It Up can do that, right? You just have a platform.
Spark
up. Sorry, yes.
Come on, it was so beautiful.
It was, and I messed it up.
You're not the only one. Longson was calling it Sparked Up.
I do.
Past tense.
I did that at the street worker conference. I was calling out all the towns, all the cities, and I missed 2 cities.
Oh,
and they was
you can't name things. That's what happens to me too.
See, and I should have shut up, but I'm gonna shut up right there.
No, but yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's so wonderful to see people come to that understanding and that way of being, right? The evolution of humans it should be growth, upward bound. I've seen guys that I went to high school with. I think like 2 years ago, I went to high school with this kid who was always late, in and out of school, absent, and he was killed. And I'm just like, dang, like, it's just such a complex life because they're living this way, but when you talk to them, they don't feel dangerous. You know what I mean? And they get treated like they are, and they get swallowed up into this lifestyle. So I think it's great to see you, first of all, as a Black man, right, beat the statistic, but also go back and make sure that others can do the same thing. So I want to give you your props for doing the work that a lot of people say. Like people talk about, like, we got to stop the violence in the city, but are you doing the work? And it's not for everybody, right? But I think, like you said, we can be the change in our circle and make the ripple effect there. And then if you're not a street worker, but you're kind and loving, like Mr. said, then you can change people. You can change their mindset and their attitude towards life. So I think you're a great human being. I think the work that you do it feels a lot of times like thankless, like, right? But you've been doing the work for so long, I think we'll see the impact, and people will, because I've heard your name and I didn't even know you, Bub. So it's great. I'm proud of you for that. We didn't get a chance to talk about the 2024 New England Street Worker Conference, but I did see you had your 5 minutes of fame. There was a video circulating. Were you hosting that conference?
MC.
Okay. Yeah. So hosting. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were me at the conference. Got it. How many people were? It was like 300 street workers.
Yes.
That's dope. Does that happen every year?
Annually, yep. Always at Gillette Stadium. So shout out to the Kraft family for hosting us and allow us to use that space. But yeah, every year, and it's grown. We've seen new programs develop, not because of the Street Worker Conference, but it's good to see new programs because the unfortunate, right? There's enough violence to go around, and you know, to have people now inspired to do the work is a blessing. And so, yeah, we are proud of it. The committee does a great job every year. I think one of our proudest moments outside of putting people together was the food. People love the food.
No, that's always a plus.
Conferences, and I've learned that conferences almost like weddings, right? Like if the DJ and the food, or the DJ's not good, nobody cares anything about the wedding, right? So I'm gonna put pressure on my wedding DJ, who you all know wears nasty.
Oh, true. Okay.
This little bro, but yeah, the food, everybody was like, the food is amazing. So we made sure we got the food again this year, because I've been to a conference, people like, how was the conference? The food was nasty. No, but how was the substance of the conference? No, the food was disgusting. We're proud.
That's hilarious. It's true. It makes people feel engaged, I guess, when there's good food involved. That's how we gather, is through meals. Right. So, but congratulations on all the work that you have done, will do, and you're getting married. It's like a whole new era. You're in a new job. It's great. Do you have any last remarks or shameless plugs you want to add for things coming up?
I do want to say, just for folks, shout out to my big sister, Lisa Pina Warren, who is now the new executive director of the Nonviolence Institute. We came up in this work together. It's well deserved. But she just needs community support at this time. You know what I mean? To the first woman to run the organization.
I met her earlier.
There's not many women leading organizations in this space of community violence intervention. So shout out to all the women. I always try to uplift women in this space because it is dominated by males. If people can just show Lisa some love, show the Nonviolence Institute some love, because the work that they're doing is necessary.
Thank you. And how can the people follow you?
I'm on all of the socials. So Juan Corey's actually my middle name. So Juan Corey Carter, which Jay-Z, Sean Corey Carter.
His middle name is Corey too?
Yes. You want to know what my son's name is?
What is it?
Sean Corey Carter. I'm on IG, Juan Corey. I believe it's the same for Twitter, or X, should I say.
Dope. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me again.
And you can catch me on 101.1 FM WBRU 360 with my guy DJ Franchise. And if you're not from the city, you can download that WBRU 360 app, or you can listen to the show any Tuesday I'm on. This podcast ain't for everybody, but it's for somebody. And if that somebody is you, follow us on Instagram, Spark Up Pod, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. And Juan, the passion that you have for community work is truly commendable. I pray that you continue to find peace and happiness in this relationship so it fuels you to do the work, because I know that work is heavy. And thank you again for joining me today. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we out.